It was a lovely night to be indoors, where I sat all warm and lazy by the fire in our lodgings on Marylebone High Street. I had survived the awful tedium of studying my school lessons, needn't have bothered with those really. The servant had gone off to see her sweetheart, and I was perking up considerable with the help of Tom and Huck, who were hatching wild schemes to help Jim escape from Uncle Silas and Aunt Sally. Tom was an exasperating fellow. He never did anything the easy way. Keen as I was on Mr. Twain's book, however, I kept an ear open for the sounds of footfalls on the stairs, and I kept not hearing any. There was just the sound of rain rapping on the window panes. Mother should have been back some time ago. She'd left directly after supper to give her Thursday night violin lesson to Liz McNaughton, who had but one leg due to a carriage mishap on Lombard Street. Though it was mean-spirited of me, I found myself wishing Liz had kept her leg and lost an arm. Would have put a damper on her violining. That way, Mother would have been spared the chore of paying her a visit on such a rough night, and I would have been spared my worries. But worry I did. I could never rest easy when Mother was away at night. I had no father, nor any but the foggiest memory of him, as he'd been a soldier attached to the Berkshires, and was fetched up dead by a Giselle bullet at the Battle of Mainwand when I was just a sprout. Growing up fatherless, I had a morbid dread of losing Mother as well. So while I wondered what had delayed her return that night, I conjured up a whole passel of dreadful fates queuing up to have a go at her. Even in more normal times she might have been run down by a hansom, or attacked by cutthroats, or met some other terrible end. But these were not normal times, what with the Whitechapel murderer lurking around with his knife. While most of the folks in London knew only what they read in the newspapers, I was quite well versed on all the grim particulars of the Ripper's atrocities due to Uncle William, who worked out of the Laymon Street police station. He had not only gotten a first-hand look at two of the victims right where they fell, but he took a keen delight in regaling me, when Mother wasn't about, with gory descriptions of what he'd seen. Oh, his eyes merrily flashed with mischief and relish. I've no doubt he was quite amused at how I must have blanched. However, I was always eager to hear more. Tonight, awaiting Mother's return, I wished I knew nothing of the Ripper. I told myself there was no reason to fear that he might strike her down. After all, one-legged Liz's flat was no closer to the East End than our own. The Ripper would have had to roam far from his usual hunting grounds before coming into our neighbourhoods. Besides, it was still too early in the night for him to be out stalking, and he only killed whores. Mother certainly ought to be safe from him. But I made my head sore with worrying. By and by, I set the book aside and took to pacing the floor, all in a bother. I'd been at this a while before a door shut down below. That was followed by heavy, staggering footfalls on the stairway. Mother's step was usually quick and light. Curious, I hurried out and peered down the stairs. There, struggling beneath the weight of Rolf Barnes, was Mother. "Mum! Give us a hand!" I rushed down and took the other side of the rascal. He was soaked to the bone and stank of rum. Though he hardly seemed able to keep his legs beneath him as we wrestled him up the stairs, he mumbled and growled deep in his cups. "We aren't taking him in, are we now?" "We most certainly are. Mind your tongue, young man. He might have perished in the street." And such a shame that would have been, I thought, but I held my tongue. Barnes had a habit of turning into a brutish lout after he'd taken a few sips, going foul of mouth and mean of temper. However, he'd fought at my father's side in the Second Afghan War. The way he told it, they'd been great chums to the bitter end. I always reckoned him a liar on that score, but Mother wasn't about to find fault with the man. From the very start, she treated him like a regular member of the family. Not that she was gone over him. She had the good sense, at least, to reject his amorous advances, so far as I know. Even after declining his marriage proposal some years ago, however, she'd never turned him away from our door. And tonight, by all appearances, she had dragged him through it. "Where did you find him?" I asked as we fought our way up the stairs. "He'd fallen in a heap in front of the Boar's Head." "Ah," said I, "the pub was just at the corner. He was likely waiting in ambuscade and fell in his heap when he saw you coming along." "Trevor!" With that, I concentrated on the job at hand. Barnes grumbled and cursed all the while as we helped him into our flat. Mother responded with murmurs of, "Poor fellow," and you're soaked through, and you'll catch your death for sure, and what shall we do with you?